Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. We're here live on Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we are so excited that you're here with us in the studio. And so we are just kind of working through our week and looking at the fact that this is Independence Week, if I can call it that way. And so, you know, what I have to say about independence is a little bit different than probably what most might say, but I will tell you this as a part of our Smarter Start Bootcamp, we've done a few episodes where we talked about value. And one of the things that we have done in our co-working session is we've actually had a few episodes where we went through some of the concepts of value and what it means to have a more valuable business. So while we're talking about being independent and thanking, God for being independent in this country, I want you to be working on your business and to put some independence in your life. You need a Switzerland structure. Yes, you do. You need to be independent of any key customer that is going to provide a problem for you. And I don't mean that you get rid of the customer. I mean, you need to add more customers, because when you have dependency issues where your biggest customer, if they walked away, it could provide a situation for you where you might struggle a lot and may not survive. Okay. And so that could be a situation. So I want you to be thinking about, how do I do things differently in my business so that I am not too dependent on a key customer? What about key employees? You have key employees that if they left the business, then it could struggle and not survive, or struggle a lot and have a hard time surviving. And so we want to be thinking about what we can do in that situation as well. How do we prepare ourselves in our business so that we don't have that kind of dependency? And what about key suppliers, where if something happened where you were trying to put together your widget, your gadget, or if you're in retail, if you are ordering from one particular supplier, and if those suppliers were no longer available and you had a supply chain issue, it could cost your business greatly. You need to be thinking again about independence. What do you do in that situation? Well, I have a suggestion for you, and I actually have a gift. If you'll go to our website, redworldwide.org, and right there in the menu, there's something that says build value. Click on that link in the menu and fill out the 15-minute questionnaire so you can get a free, complimentary. Some people don't like the word free, but it's free. It's complimentary. Nothing else will you have to pay. If you just click on that link, we will gift you this time to have a business. I would say it's actually going to, verify the value of your company right then and there on the spot. It'll be able to tell us what things we need to work on in the company according to the 8 drivers of business value. And then it will also give you an opportunity, if you'll put your financials in there, to get an estimated value of the company. What could the company be worth? And then you'll have a time to have a meeting with me where you can sit down with me over Zoom or even in person if you're going to come to our office, and we can actually talk about the verification of value of your business, see what it is that you need to do to not just remove these dependencies, but also look at the other drivers of business value and see how can we help you build a more valuable company, a company that you could sell for 3x, 5x, 10x, depending on how much work we are able to put in it in your industry. How can we get that value up so that you can, get what it is that you desire and deserve out of the company if you try to sell it? Now, if you are planning to pass it down to your children, which we're going to be talking about succession planning and how do you build out a family business today. But I want you to understand that you want to give them something that's valuable. You don't want to give them a company that will struggle and that has issues because of the fact that you didn't take the time to do some just key tweaking in some areas to make sure that those drivers are right and that you're driving value back to your company. So I want to offer you again this complimentary session so you can have the opportunity to take a look at what it is that you can do in your company to make sure it's valuable. I mean, you might be planning to chairman the board, okay? Maybe you plan to just chairman the board and to allow the company to continue to grow, but you still want to have a valuable company. There are lots of reasons why you want to do it. And I want to share those reasons with you, and I want to show you how these simple drivers can be put in place and or they're already in place, but you can actually unlock them in a way that has them working for you and not against you in your company. And so I just wanted to share that before we got started today. Now, today we're going to be talking about business value, and we're going to be talking about it from a different standpoint. We're talking today about how to build out your family business. How do you maintain longevity in your family business? What is it that you can do to make sure that your family's business is, running the way it's supposed to be and that it's going to be around for a while? Family businesses are the backbone of many economies, especially the economies inside the United States. We really are doing a lot in this area, and there are quite a few family businesses, even though you might not recognize that they're family businesses, that are a pivotal part, in our communities. I mean, we know of the one family business. If I throw this name out there, I'm sure everybody will be able to say, oh yeah, I know that one. Walmart, okay? It's a family business. Forbes is a family business. And so you hear me talking also about James M. Cox and Cox Cable, Cox Enterprises, Cox Entertainment, family business. Tyson Chicken, family business. So when we're looking at, some of these companies and thinking about, wow, they've been around a while and they've been around a few generations. Okay, you might want to be thinking about how did they do it. But I can tell you this. We had an episode some months back where I talked about the businesses in Japan, that there are right now, more than 500 family-owned businesses in Japan that have been around for more than 50 years. So this is something that, it was intriguing to me. And I did a little case study to look at these different companies and how they operated. There was one company that was 1,300 years old. When you think about that, man, 1,300 years old, that is a very long time to be running a business and passing it down from generation to generation. How do they do it? How do they keep it? How do they maintain the company? And how do they keep family members interested in continuing this legacy? Well, this presentation today is going to explore how investing in your human capital, in your children, in your children's children, can lead to long-term sustainability and success for family enterprises. So with that said, I want us to watch just a little short video, and then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about how do you maintain longevity in your family business. Let's go. Joanna, I want you to run the video, please.
I love family-owned businesses. They have a unique charm to them.
Absolutely. Did you know that family businesses account for 64% of the U.S. gross domestic product? Yes, and they are essential to the economy.
That's impressive.
But maintaining longevity in a family business requires a lot of effort.
What are some strategies that successful family businesses use?
They have a clear vision and strong family values that guide their decisions and keep them aligned with their goals. They also invest in succession planning and mentorship to prepare the next generation for leadership roles. Community engagement and sound financial practices are also crucial.
That makes sense. you have any examples of successful family businesses?
Baker's legacy is a great example. They have been in business for over 50 years and have maintained their success across generations by following these strategies. They have a clear vision and strong family values, invest in succession planning and mentorship, engage with their community, and have sound financial practices.
Wow, I'm impressed. What can we learn from them?
We can learn that having a clear vision and strong family values is essential. Investing in succession planning and mentorship prepares the next generation for leadership roles. Engaging with the community builds a loyal customer base and strengthens the business's reputation. And sound financial practices ensure financial stability.
That's valuable information. I'll keep that in mind.
Definitely. It's essential to maintain longevity in a family business. It takes effort and strategic planning, but it's worth it.
All right. So, as our little friends, my little cartoon friends, I love creating. And so, as my little friends talked about today, we want to dive a little deeper into this concept of having a business that you can pass to your children and your children can pass to their children. Or for that matter, you can involve your siblings and bring other people in the family in so that you can have a business that is a part of your family's legacy, a lasting part of your family's public legacy. So let's roll the slides again, please. Okay, next slide, please. So defining a sustainable family business, really is going to entail us being able to break down some of the concepts that we watched in the video. The sustainable family business thrives across generations. It's a balancing the profitability of the business with your family values and the community impact that you're having. It's prioritizing environmental responsibility as well as ethical practices. And when you're able to do this, then you can actually ensure that your business, your family business, is going to be a sustainable enterprise. So let's look at 4 key things. Long-term vision. Developing a shared vision for the future that aligns with family values is very important. It's something, that to be said when you actually have something that everyone in the family who's working within the company is aligning with. They all are feeling, this process of how you do it, when you do it and why you do it, at such a high level that they're all in, and it's really interesting that when everyone in the family treats the family's business like they owned it by themselves, it seems that, things come together very well. They don't seem to let things, go awry within the company, without a valiant effort to make sure that something is, working the way it's supposed to. And they're also looking at, okay, what was the original intent, the original vision for the company? How do we, keep that going while iterating and innovating on top of it? We talked a little bit in Smarter Start Bootcamp yesterday about vision and about having the ability to innovate on top of the original concepts so that you can have something that really is powerful and that serves your audience, your target market well. Well, when you have that long-term vision and it is something that everyone in the family shares, then they actually are shining lights of what that company is supposed to be. And I love to see it that way because if you think about it, if everyone in the family was shining a light on what the vision was, then that means that that vision is going to continue and the future generations will be able to see it as they're coming into the company and they begin to carry that same vision as well. Now, financial stability is going to be important. You got to have revenue. And having consistent revenue that your company is able to generate ensures that you have sound financial practices for long-term growth. Okay, so the revenue that you're bringing into the company needs to be revenues that you are able to predict. And so we've kind of talked about having not just the one-offs where you know have a new customer every day, or you're selling a new widget, a new gadget, or a new something every day, but also creating a healthy balance between that and having more long-term contracts and some type of subscription service or something that will bring you predictable revenue. I have seen it happen when in many companies when they couldn't quite figure out how do we get this recurring revenue as opposed to reoccurring revenue, and then someone has an aha moment, whether it's a surprise box that gets sent out because of some membership, or it becomes some other type of package deal where people are able to get the services in buckets where they can buy a set of 12 of them, and they get it one every month for the next 12 months, or they're paying for, I talked about this in a different podcast, but it was really interesting how I remember when I used to go get my hair done at one shop where I could pay a monthly fee and come in and get my hair done once a week. And it didn't cost them any more for them to just divide up the amount and take just a small discount from their services to allow it such that they could have memberships or people who were buying these again buckets of services, so they could come in and have this particular thing done for them. And in my case, have my hair done. That's all I did at that particular shop, not hair and nails, but that particular service was done every single week, and I paid for it once a month. Now, what that did for the owners of that shop is it provided them the ability to count their revenues, and to know approximately how much money they were going to have from their recurring clients, so they could better plan out what they were going to do in that shop and how they were going to do it. And so I'm thinking, that when we're talking about having some financial stability, you want to make sure that when you are talking with your generations, okay, because sometimes people who have family businesses have, two generations or three generations, down working there, and I've seen it where the grandmother, the great grandmother, and the mother and the child are all working there in some capacity, and there's longevity in those generations, because of what they're doing. People they have a purpose, they have a focus, okay, because the family's business needs them. So, they're going to stay around as long as possible to make sure that they put in their portion. So, I want you to be thinking about in your family's business, how do you make sure that you create whatever it is you're doing with the mindset of having financial stability and maintaining longevity. And one of the things I would tell you is if you're able to add those automatic customers, whether it's a subscription service or whether you have something that you sell and you sell a package that they purchase so that you can service the thing that you sold, sort of like the alarm system. People bought the monitoring, okay? The alarm system itself was not the real service or the product. The real product was the monthly services, okay? To make sure that if something happened where that alarm went off, someone shows up, okay? And or the police were called, or in the case of if there's a flood warning because there's water on the floor and the system detects it, that someone shows up to make sure that the house is not completely flooding. So these are the kinds of things you want to be thinking about in your business. What do you have? What can you do to make sure that you have some financial stability, even in the seasonality of your company? All right. What about community engagement? Oh, let me jump back over here. For people who are in landscaping, let me tell you, my little landscaper, when I lived in one part of Texas, I loved him. I paid $35 a month. And I know that doesn't seem like a lot of money. Okay, I've been around a little while. But anyway, because I know people pay a lot more than that now. But back then I was paying $35 a month. And what he did is, even in the months where the grass was yellow because it was snowing, or there was a lot of ice on the ground, and so the grass wasn't green during those months. I didn't have that kind of grass. I now know that there's a type of grass that is all weather, but at that time, that's not what I had. So he still came out and did certain things. And so it wasn't that he was coming to cut the grass, but there were other things that he came and did for us for that $35 a month. So he had a package deal that included the lawn service, and it included also the, manicuring all of my beautiful bushes, and making sure that if any trash had blown up at the house, he was coming by and taking his little blower and getting all that trash out, even if he wasn't cutting the lawn. So I'm saying to you that in your business, there has to be something that you can provide as a service that people will purchase as a product. Okay. You productize your services, put them in these little packages, and they will pay you monthly so that they can gladly have access to whatever that thing is. Someone said to me the other day, and I mentioned it, I think, in the Smarter Start Boot Camp, they were saying, man, your annual subscription is so low. You could be making a lot more money. And I will tell you, I probably could, we have talked and talked and talked, our team, our board, about raising the prices. And I've had people, tell me, Patience, you really need to raise the prices of the annual membership, because people will pay a lot more. It is so valuable. What you give is just way more than what it costs, to them. And I'm like, yeah, I do believe that you're telling the truth. However, by having a lot of members, we're able to serve everyone when everyone pays their $145 a year. It gives us the ability to offer those 3 advisory sessions and the other things that we tell them, where they don't have to ever pay if we, provide for them if they want to set up an LLC or a corporation or an unincorporated association or whatever those business structures are. We don't charge for that if you're a member. So, and then we have classes. Some of the classes are free, like our First Thursdays. Our First Thursdays classes are all business classes, and people can come to class just about all day long and not pay anything if they're members. They get access to certain other classes that we have in our system without paying for the membership. Now, there's some classes that they pay for, but there are others that they don't. And so for us, we believe we offer a tremendous value for the $145 a year. But that 145 times 380 people, okay, or 80 companies, gives us enough money to make sure that we can offer those services for that amount. So what am I saying? I'm saying find whatever your service is, your product is, that you could put in some sort of a package so that you had regular income coming in alongside of your other things that you may provide that are one-offs. Okay. So just wanted to say that. Community engagement. You've got to make sure that you have this community, because communities are important. I was, just sharing earlier today, and I had written down in my journal all of the different all of our enterprises that I'm working in. We have enterprises that I don't work in, but some of the enterprises that I'm working in, we have different types of things. And I will say that for 4 out of the 5, we have a community, okay? And we have communities like that because we really believe that we offer more value when we're able to just run up against each other with our ideas and provide ways of people, having this, the people in a cohort that they can chat with, or that they can talk to, or that they can share their ideas with, or that they can network with. And so what I have learned in business is that when you can take your community that you're serving and share them with each other, okay? Put them in community with each other so that they can begin to talk more frequently about what they're learning and what they're doing. It makes everyone better. We are better together. And that is just, I will always say that. So, I am saying to you that actively contributing to the community and building lasting relationships within your community is going to be key. And if your community starts with your family, and the family's able to build from there and bring others in, it makes your company stronger. Okay. And then Employee well-being. This is huge because you want to make sure that you have a supportive work environment, one that fosters loyalty and growth. Yesterday, we talked a lot about resilience. And what I will tell you is that when you have a culture of wellness, a culture of well-being within your company, what it does is it makes it so that people want to be there, including your family. There are so many times when I have had to sit down and counsel or coach or consult, with family members who are working in the business who feel like they are not valuable to the company. They don't feel not only do they not feel valued, but they don't feel worth, anything. Not because of the fact that someone is railing on them all the time. It's just that there's no concerted effort to let them know how much they're valued, how much they are, um, uh, how much they are needed. How much their life is required to assist in everything that's going on. And when someone is having a struggle or a challenge, not having the ability to really feel like they can share is a big problem. And sometimes that's a huge problem in family businesses. I've seen it happen many times. And so you want to make sure that you have a sustainable family business by putting together concepts that will help people to see and buy into that long-term vision, by making sure that there is financial stability so that people can be paid when they're supposed to be paid, and then proper raises can be given, when those are merited, by making sure you have communities that are engaging with each other, starting with the family and going out from there, and by ensuring that everyone is able to buy into a culture of wellness within your company, you will have a sustainable family business. Let's go forward, please. Next slide. Okay, laying the foundation. What are the core values and the vision of the company? Well, this is a huge, huge deal because it does you no good to, talk about having a sustainable family business and talking about the fact that you have to have a certain type of vision if you don't have a way of communicating the vision to everyone. So the core values and shared vision are the foundation for a sustainable family business. And you've got to be able to make sure people can see these things. And I do mean that it needs to be on the walls. It needs to be somewhere in a handbook, maybe, on our phones. If you are using, a software that allows them to see the handbook or see different materials and different types of branding, with regard to the company and the company's app or website, you got to be able to communicate what the values are of the company and what the vision is of the company, and these are the principles that will guide the decision making and ensure that the business remains aligned with the family's goals. When you are constantly making people aware of what, it's just a reminder. And I mean, there's no way I think that you can go overboard on this. I mean, I'm talking about, weave it into things that you normally do. We were in a wonderful little family restaurant when we were in, I don't remember which city it was because we've been traveling so much. They're all running together right now. I'm so sorry. But we were in a restaurant. Oh, it was in Northern California. And we were all sitting there and eating. And I was looking on the wall and I was like, man, I could see this statement that was written on a wall up above. And I was like, okay, it was incomplete. The statement was not complete. It had a portion of the statement there. And I'm telling you, I was looking all over that building for the rest of that statement because it was so profound, just the first part of it. And when I'm looking at, the other walls and looking all around, trying to figure it out, my husband and I and two of our friends were there with us. And all of a sudden, in just one succinct statement on a wall in a picture, okay, of some different families or whatever that they had on their wall, I was able to see the other part of that statement. And it was so profound, not even realizing that their entire team, it was a pizza restaurant that we were at, their entire team were wearing t-shirts with the same statement on it. And I totally missed that part. Their branding was everywhere. And I was so immersed in it that I didn't even realize that it was in all these different places. It was on the walls, it was on the clothes, it was actually on the outside of their little counters, and it was just everywhere. And I was like, oh man, I just didn't see it. I am saying to you that it is important for you to immerse people in your core values and your vision. They need to be able to pick it up. They need to be able to know by just doing business with you what you are all about. It's really interesting to me when I walk up to someone and I tell them that I'm with Red Worldwide, and they say, oh yeah, you guys are the research, educate, develop people. Yep, that's us. Because somehow they found out about us in some kind of way. They were able to, pick up what our acronym was all about and see what we do through others who are working with us or who we've done work for. Your family values are very, very important, and it has to be something that matches with the business goals and business values, the company's values. Honesty, integrity, hard work, and a commitment to excellence should be incorporated, but you don't have to use those words. Use the words that are important to your company and your family so that you can actually emit and, constantly allow people to pick up sense. Otherwise know, what your family's intention is for having the company. Then the shared vision, a clear vision for your business's future direction and impact should be established by everyone. Every person should be able to communicate the vision statement. It should not be just the mission statement that they all know, but they ought to know the vision statement too. And there's some reasons for that, because if they know where they're going, they will very rarely get lost. Now, hear what I'm saying. If the people who are working with you know where you're going, then they know where they're going. Okay. And if they know where they're going, then they will not get lost on the fringe. They will not get lost on stuff that don't really matter. Okay. And so it's important that you're thinking this way when you are laying out your vision. How do you make the vision easy for people to communicate? You don't have to use all these big words. It doesn't have to be 25 pages long. It could be one succinct statement. That one succinct statement gives people the ability to be able to know it and communicate it. And so that's very important. And then your mission statement, your concise statement, articulating your business's purposes and its values, including a clear alignment, okay, is going to be important. And being able to have that elevator pitch that will absolutely tell people that as a result of X, okay, whatever it was that you did this year, last year, whenever you did it, 100 people were served, and they have been able to have this particular thing, this wonderful success happen to them because of what our company was able to do. So having these kinds of statements are very important. And, when you communicate them effectively and make it easy for others to pick the statements up and share that as well, then it gives you a company-wide vision and value statement that people can latch a hold to and cause even your customers and clients to resonate with for the long haul. Okay, next slide, please. So, how do we get this plan, okay, from one generation to the next? That's what we call succession planning. It's the critical part, okay, of passing the business down, of making it so that there's continuity in the family business and that there's no gaps. It doesn't stop for a generation, okay? It involves identifying and developing future leaders. You have to be able to develop future leaders. And I want you to be able to gain access to this information because I shared it in one of my books that I wrote called Built to Pass. And I talked about in that book, in one of the chapters, how you have to be able to develop your leaders. identify potential leaders. First of all, though, you can't develop anyone if you don't know who they are. So you've got to be paying attention to everyone to see what skill sets they have and make sure that people are in the right places, so that they can have a passion about what they're doing. And, if they are a leader, put them over something, because that gives you the ability to see what they've got. Okay. And it gives you the ability to help them develop it and develop it well. People need to develop their leadership skills, and they cannot develop them if they don't have a way to practice. So you've got to be able to provide them opportunities for training and mentorship to groom future leaders. Okay, now I have a third one here, but the You Are Watching Co-working Live podcast is in the way. So Jerron, can you move it for a minute so that I can share with everyone our third opportunity here for our effective succession planning? Maybe not. Okay, no, I don't need you to go to the next slide. I needed to go back to the other slide, but I need you to remove the You Are Watching Co-working Live podcast at Red Worldwide, because everyone can't see what's underneath it. Okay, I'm not sure. No, go back, please. Go back, please. Go back again, please. Go back one more. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if they're able to move that. So what we're going to do is just stay with me here, because I have a way of seeing it. I may not be able to let you see it, but okay.
I love family-owned business.
Okay. So where we are, formalizing your succession plan. That's where we are. So basically, when you are in a position where you're able to communicate your succession plan, you've got to be able to not just have it in your mind, but create a detailed plan and outline the roles and responsibilities of people who are supposed to carry out the plan. They've got to know what their part in the plan is. And if they don't know what their part in the plan is, then they won't be able to support you as you are, rolling things out for others, who will be carrying things forth. So it's important for you to understand that if you're going to have an effective succession plan, you've got to make sure that you have something formal, that it's written down, that it's, in an orderly fashion, so people will be able to pick it up and follow it. Next slide, please. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So generational transitions bring new perspectives and challenges, and open communication and understanding is really going to be key to navigating, these transitions successfully. It's important that you understand that everyone may not agree. Some people might want to be in the position that you put other people in, and they may not understand why that person got the job and they did not. And especially when this is family, sometimes it can be a challenge. And so I want you to understand that there are some things that you can do, okay, to, forego some of these challenges so that it won't make it very difficult for you and everybody else who uh-oh. To be in a family where they are having, something, that they can buy into, even if they don't agree. And I want to make sure I'm clear about that, because there are people who may not agree. They may not want to, participate in the family business if they're not chosen. And so I've got to make sure that you understand that if you have that situation in your family and something happens where people don't necessarily agree with what's going on and how it's becoming whatever it's becoming, as things are growing in the company and they don't see eye to eye with you in your leadership capacity, there is an important opportunity, or I should say, character building moment in that situation, and so having these regular and open communication, um, uh, I call them portals, okay, where each and every person is able to communicate their ideas with respect, even if the idea is not the same as what the vision is for the company. You need to be able to listen to what they're saying and hear them out, so that they can understand that, hey, your ideas are valued, and I do, understand what you're saying, even if I don't agree, and even if we go a different direction. I want you to be aware that what it is that I'm sharing with you is very important, and it is a part of what it is that we're doing as a company. Then you got to be able to help them to develop respect for each other and respect for you, and communicate that respecting the contributions of each generation and valuing their unique perspective is is important to you, but it is as important to you as it should be to them, that they respect your generation and what it is that you all are seeing when you have crafted out these ideas about what should happen in the company. And then integrating new ideas, giving them the ability to feel like, okay, I'm going to listen to you. And if you have an idea that actually is going to help us push this company forward, I'm willing to integrate that idea and that approach, even though it might, be a little different than what I was thinking. But I'm going to find a way to see if we can make it work within the company's core values. Because if we can, then this is a good time for us to move that thing forward. Okay, next slide, please. So maintaining financial stability. We talked about, becoming, financially stable and how important that was. Now we're going to talk about how do we maintain stability, because things happen. Okay. The economy changes. There are so many things that can occur. We could even have another pandemic. We don't know all of what we don't know. And so for that reason, you have to make sure that we've got some reserves and things in place so that if things start going a little to the left, the company can still exist. And having those sound financial practices, we talked about in one of our previous sessions that you ought to have at least a deposit account, a reserve account, and an operating account, because it gives you some diversification where your funds can be in a situation where, you are able to better manage, for the company's, revenue streams, and manage the company's expenses. You need to be able to budget and know what the budget should be year over year in order for you to plan properly. There has to be some sort of cash flow management. Okay. And not just you're managing the cash flow based on what bills come. There needs to be some investment strategies. I talked about reserves. You got to be able to know, how do we take a few dollars from what it is that we make and put that money into the market so that we can make money from that money. That is really essential. And so when you have these things in place, it really does help the company to work efficiently. So again, let's run through this. Budgeting, creating a detailed budget to plan for income, expenses, and investments. Having that plan ahead of time helps the company to reach its break-even point in the first few years, to maintain its, growth potential, and to make sure that there is top line and bottom line growth. Okay. Cash flow management, monitoring the cash inflows and outflows to ensure that the company stays as liquid as it needs to be so it can pay its bills and it can offset any kind of seasonality that might be happening during the year. Okay. And investment strategies, developing strategies to allocate resources for growth and sustainability, putting money away into something that's growing faster than the market and the industry that you're in. That is going to be important so that you can have something coming back into the company that your that's another stream that doesn't depend on the markets that you're in or the industry that you're working in. Okay. And then risk management, identifying and mitigating potential financial risks to protect the business. We talked a lot about that yesterday when we were talking about resilience. You want to make sure you go back and watch that video, because it's very important for you to understand, how do we not just manage but mitigate a risk. Okay. And so we talk about that a little bit in that video. Next slide, please. So how do we foster a collaborative culture? A collaborative culture is vital, for a family business. And we have to have this open communication, some shared decision making, and a strong sense of community, in order to do it. And I want you to be able to think about these four things, okay? Having open communication, and we talked about having this open and honest communication between all stakeholders, making sure that everyone feels like that and knows that it's okay for them to share their opinion, that they're not going to be shot down, that you are fostering a communication within the family that allows people to share. That's very important. Then shared decision making is also important. Not just sharing the communication, but share the decision making. Involve all family members in important decisions to foster a sense of ownership. If you have that kind of leadership style where you're the only person making the decision and you don't care what anybody else says or thinks, and you're just going to run the company the best you see fit, you will find you're probably going to lose a few family members in your process, and you may not do well in business either. I'm saying that it is important for you to have counsel, and counsel doesn't necessarily mean that the family is lording over you. It just means that there's more for you to draw from, more knowledge, more intelligence, more ideas, more innovations, that can come to the table to help to make your company great. So I am saying that amongst the leadership needs to, have some shared decision making, and then there may be some other decisions that you give the family members opportunities to weigh in on as well. Employee engagement, value employee, create a culture of respect and appreciation within your culture in your company. Because when you can do that, okay, when you can share with people and tell them, hey, there's respect here, you can create the ability for others to do what you're modeling when you're no longer there. As they're stepping up and they're becoming leadership, and you have gone on to chairman of the board, or you're retired, you'll be able to see the benefits of what you did in your leadership, in the ways that matter most, okay? Because of the modeling, they do it. Then having regular family meetings provide a platform for discussing business matters and maintaining harmony. So sometimes these business meetings are technically family meetings because the family's running the business, and other people who might be employees are there. But the benefit of this is that you now have the ability to have diplomacy operating in your family business. You have the ability to make sure that you have regular opportunities for people to share and for people to tell what they've observed, and even giving people the ability to sit on committees and having them work together on particular projects to come back and share with the others, so that everyone can see what's going on, from their perspective, and how those things can help to benefit the company and grow the company's value even more. Next slide, please. So, what are the keys to long-term success? Well, building a sustainable family business requires a commitment to your core values. Remember, we talked about those core values. It requires a commitment to effective succession planning and a collaborative culture. By embracing these principles, family businesses can create a legacy for generations to come. So let's look at the four things here that we kind of glossed over in this entire presentation. Growth and development. By continuing to evolve, to adapt, and to changing market conditions, you are able to, have the growth and development that your company needs, okay? The company's needs are very important, and for you to make sure that you have this family business that's sustainable, you got to be looking at company needs, not just your needs. Okay. Sometimes when people are in business, the bottom line is always going to be the first thing that they're thinking about, their financial remuneration. But if the company cannot grow its revenues over time, then the economy is growing. It will not be around long enough to do much. So you've got to be able to think about the company's growth and development, and the people over the profits, the people over the process and the projects. You got to be thinking about that, because when you can think about that, then the company has a trajectory for growth and development that will make sense for sustainability. Now, community impact, again, you've got to be able to continuously contribute positively to not just the community within your company, but without as well, and build lasting relationships, showing corporate responsibility to people in your community, people who are, in the neighborhood where you serve, whether or where you provide services, or for that matter, where you sell your products, having a type of community impact where people feel like your company is a part of the community and not apart from the community. Okay, it's going to be important. I remember very clearly how when during the Rodney King, and some of you guys are too young to know anything about Rodney King, but there was a horrific scenario that occurred where a man had been beaten, and it was not a good situation. And anyway, there was a trial. Okay. And I won't go through all of the details of it, but you can look it up on YouTube. But there was a trial. And in this particular case, there was just a tremendous set of things, horrific things that happened in the community where I lived. I lived in California at the time, in Southern California, blocks away from where the incident occurred. And I want to say that in many of the metropolitan areas, we had these riots. And so the Rodney King riots were probably in my lifetime one of the worst set of riots that I have ever seen, in that everything seemed to be on fire. Houses were being burned, cars were being burned, people's restaurants and establishments, little small storefront, were broken into. And it was just so, so bad. And I want to tell you that the businesses that stood up, the business owners that stood up, and they put different types of literature out. Some of them even had, we support Black-owned businesses, or, they might have even put Black-owned business on the windows. They might have also put different kinds of material, where people could get resources and referrals out there in the community. It was just amazing to see what some of the business owners did to try to rebuild after those riots. And it did create, a type of camaraderie amongst the businesses in the community to say, hey, we're better together. We're going to kind of stay within the guise of helping each other so that we don't, end up falling away. And so it was quite an interesting set of things that occurred over time. We were able to build back our communities, and people were really, really happy about how what the outcome was, over time. But it did take a community to do it, And then when the businesses were joining together, a lot of those businesses were family businesses that were able to stay the course, that were able to build back their revenues and go back into doing things to help the community become stronger. It was just an amazing thing, but it started from within the business. If there was dissension in the business, the community impact was not going to be the same. Okay. And so having family harmony and maintaining strong familial bonds and a shared vision for the future is going to be one of the keys, again, to this long-term success. You've got to make sure that the family is okay, because at the end of the day, the business can fold, but if the family is okay, then, things can be rebuilt. You can start another one. But if the family is destroyed at the hand of the business, that's a problem. If the family is destroyed because of the business, that's a problem. So you've got to make sure that beyond everything, that the goal should be to make sure that the family stays intact and that the business itself is just an outgrowth of what's going on in the family. All right, sustainability. Operating in an environmentally responsible and ethical way will be something else that you can do to make sure that you have long-term success. I will tell you this, businesses where the family's values run over into doing business, and the family has the values of having something sustainable, environmentally responsible, ethical. Those types of things are things that are, pillars in a company. And when you have a company that is speaking that kind of language through everything that you do, it actually does a lot to make long-term success. Well, I hope this has been helpful today in talking about how do you maintain longevity in your family business. Hope we've shared some things that you can put together in your family's business, or if you're going to start a family business, you can build a foundation with some of the concepts that we've talked about today, so that you too can experience and maintain success in your family's business for the long haul. Thanks again for sharing with us. This has been Patience Rose with Co-working Live with Red Worldwide, and we'll see you again next time.